You hear me now? Is that better? Let me know when you can hear me. Also, thank you for hanging out, even despite the mic issues. Alright, hopefully that's working and I'll hear back from you soon. And that means I'm going to have to take this whole section again later. Alright. Wow, YouTube is way behind. So, a little quiet. Okay, let me adjust that. All right. Hang with me just for a second. I'm very new at this. How do I go the maximum decibels? Because that's the highest it can go on the OBS, and I don't know why it's coming in slower. Okay. Maybe I need to fix this. Defaults? No. Cancel. Edit. View. Thank you for sticking with me, despite these issues. I've done a few weeks now of editing videos, but streaming I'm still very new. Audio? Let's see. Yeah, I don't know why it's coming in quiet. Everything is kind of set where it's at. Maybe it's just me. I can be a little bit more boisterous. Is this better? Oh, good, the dog. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go. I'm going to wait to hear back from you if my louder voice is just better. Because it looks like, to me on my end, that my razor is maxed out. So I'm going to wait a minute. All right, cool. Good to hear. I am definitely behind on YouTube, though. So we'll just deal with that. All right, so we're going to cut right to, since I have to redo the whole beginning anyway, we're going to cut right to, yeah, we'll start with where I was at. I'm going to have to just redo the beginning again. Okay, so we're going to start from here and fix it as we go. Thank you for letting me know. I would have done this whole episode if you didn't say anything. Okay. Next, the guilds. As mentioned, you don't need to keep everything even. But I think with the amount of good gold cards we got, trimming each section down to 3 will be easy. This will get us down to 30 from 67, cutting this section in half. First, Azorius. Last episode I fell in love with the idea of OG and Monk class, so that gives us one slot left. OG and Monk class are both great for me because they do that second spell archetype, which just seems mostly unique. And I just, what can I say? I'm a sucker for things that are not usually done in cubes. So I think given the options, Azorius Charm and Dramatic Rescue kind of both fill a good role in that second spell archetype. And I think between the two, I like the modality on the Charm better. So we'll cut the Rescue and all of the rest of this stuff and just get this section down to a nice clean card, clean 3. And this is mostly going to be cut, so, you know, we can just talk. Love to hear more of your thoughts about if you have a cube. Do you have a cube? Do you play cube? Alright, now on to the next set. Now on to Dimir. The Mouth of Sauron would pull me into a controlling Dimir deck as a drafter. So we'll start there. It pairs well with Swooping Newsy. And then, round it out. So get the Mouth of Sauron to make you want to play Dimir. Swooping Newsy will give you, just fine. And I think Tyrant Scorn is a good third option here. I like having the, again, another modal spell that'll do what you want to be doing in this set. So we're going to get rid of Lazotep. And Ring Sight, even though it's a ring mechanic. And Whisper Agent is kind of just an okay card. Alright. On to Rakdos. And what do I want to do with Rakdos? Okay. Alright. So on to Rakdos. When I'm looking at these cards, the first card I'm excited to see is Rakdos Headliner. It's a really aggressive body that also gives you a Madness discard outlier. So that's a definite. And then when I'm looking at other things, I see Carter's Vicious Return. It's not the same thing, but this is kind of just a good Rakdos spell. I like that you could potentially reanimate something that you discard, or just playing it straight is fine for value. So we'll keep that too. Don't really like Augur Spree, so we're going to remove that. We're not going to really do Aristocrat things either, so we're going to get Body Dropper out of here. And I think with the last choice between Terminal Agony and Only Cult Anvil, I like the idea of the Anvil more to give the next cube owner something to do. Alright, on to Gruul. What did I think about Gruul? Right. Okay, on to Gruul. As talked about last episode, Grumgully the Generous and Rampart Smasher are already in. This gives you room to end up building your first creature combo, if you so choose. And Rampart Smasher is funny because in most environments it's kind of garbage. But in this one, the text matters a lot. So of the three left, we've got Rebel Belt Runner, Ruby, or Friendly Rivalry. And I think I like Ruby the most because it helps power up your big things and get them out earlier, and then it gets bigger itself when you have. So we'll get rid of Friendly Rivalry and Rebel Belt Runner. Alright, on to Selesnya. On to Selesnya. I'm expecting to see tokens or counters. And I think I really like Kadira because it'll give you those rabbits, and especially if you're able to pump this up with something like Giant Growth or an equipment like sort of the whatever that's in white. It'll really give you a nice. It'll give you a nice amount of bunnies, and Frodo is another good one. It gives you the access to the ring in white and green, where it's kind of a tertiary color in this environment, and it'll just be good by itself because it's going to create those chances where you can kind of what was it called back in the day? Provoke. It'll give you the chances to provoke your opponent's creatures, which is great. So we're going to keep those two. And we can either keep this Perpetual Food Creator, which kind of speaks to what the cube is doing, or a okay removal spell. Not going to keep Nature's Chant, not at all. Or the Arcus Acolyte. I think between the two, Arcus Acolyte. Yeah, Captured by Legax is out too. Between the two, I like... Yeah, I like having Butterbur anyway. Oh, 1, 2, 3. I cut 3. There were 6. Perfect. All right. So, on to Orzhov. Damn, did we find a lot of cards here. We can only keep 3. So what are we thinking? What are we thinking? Well, Graceful Restoration and Hero of the Dunes both are going to reanimate your small things. I do like the Hero of the Dunes is on a body instead of Graceful's ability to pull 2 things out. So we'll cut that. What else do we have? Denethor gives you the sack outlet. So does Flesh Taker. Gain on life and scry. Right. Okay, so Flesh Taker is a card that aristocrats want to have, but I think that Denethor is better in that space. So we'll pull out the Flesh Taker. Do we have the knights to support this? Probably. Let's save these changes for now. And then we're going to filter by type. Yeah, we have a lot of white knights. I mean, obviously they're not all going to make it, but there's 11. Wow. 3 black. Maybe. What else do we have in Orzhov? Warriors. Nothing. So, knights are better to support than warriors. This just makes 2 tokens, which is not bad. This isn't great. Like, it's fine. Fine way to prevent some combat damage. Gonna keep Denethor. Gonna keep Hero. Naomi was fine in her draft, her home environment, but I don't like her really here. Yeah, I think we're gonna keep Wintermoor Commander. Don't really want to add in those kindred synergies, but we do just have a bunch of knights, so if we end up cutting too many, we'll come back to this decision and, maybe pull out the Shadow Summoning. But I think right now we're gonna just remove all of this kind of chaff. Generally in cubes, at least when you're starting out, it's nice to use your gold section as a signpost, the way that Wizards does, but we don't really have that luxury, so we're just looking for things that work well with the colors we have. So like Izzet here has another bunch of really cool cards, and I do love a lot of them. So I think we're going to use Izzet Charm, just because it's so good. Like, it gives you so many options that you're never sad to have it. And I also like this Improbable Alliance, just because I have an affinity for it. There's a lot of rummage in red, which will trigger this. It can trigger itself, but you never want to do that. And I think having an uninteractable piece is probably fine. Electromancer kind of suggests something we don't have. Yeah. Bilbo, ring, token. Bilbo's not bad. Oh yeah, and then we have this, obviously. Piston Fist Cyclops will give you that last defender you're looking for, too. Defenders isn't really heavy in red or blue, so it's nice to have that splash. Plus, this helps support the spell's archetype because it can attack. So we're going to get rid of Winterflame for sure. And this Titan is just too expensive. Gandalf Sanction, the card with trample. I guess the question's going to be between the Piston Fist Cyclops or Bilbo Baggins. You know, this isn't bad. It's not bad. But I really like Bilbo, so we'll pull the Cyclops, even though it supports that defender. I think that's the right call. All right, on to Golgari. So, what do we have here? Okay, so Kaga is great. This is a card that'll make you want to play the archetype. You get the mill on attack, and it lets you cast something or play a land from your graveyard if it was put there this turn, which it'll trigger itself from mill. Any creatures that die in combat you can bring right back. It's really excellent. So I'm going to keep the Kaga. What else would I want? Old Man Willow, attack, sacrifice a creature or token. Ooh. Okay, so Old Man Willow is another great card. It's going to be powerful. Probably at least a 4/4, 5/5, 6/6 possibly. And lets you kill small things. So that's 2 cards. What do we have left? Deathless Knight. This isn't really it. Savvy Hunter. We do have a lot of food tokens. And this will use them. Plus it does it by itself too. Bog Badger if it's kicked. Alright, that's supposed to be green. Multicolored to green. Glowspore Shaman is good to support an archetype, but I think I like the Savvy Hunter better. But it's tough. How much food do we have? Let's find out. Save those. And we'll find out how much food we actually have. Because if we don't have a whole lot... Green has a ton, but black only has the 1 kill spell that may not even make the list. Brandywine, Peregrine Took, Fierce Stalker... So this Savvy Hunter is mostly green, splashing black. But it's not terrible. So I think, given the chance between the Savvy Hunter and the Glowspore Shaman, I think my Golgari wants to be Glowspore Shaman more. It's got a better body. Well, it doesn't even have a better body. You know what? Sure, we'll cut that. So I think between Glowspore Shaman and Savvy Hunter, I prefer having the Savvy Hunter. It's only 1 more mana, and it gives you something to do with your food tokens. Even makes itself work. So this is a good filler card, not what we need. On to Boros. Inspiring Veteran is going to kick off this section. Let's take a look at our knights again. Alright. White and red, that is a lot better for the knights. Legitimately 17 creatures. You know? Again, we're probably not going to have them all, but it's not bad. Let's see what else we got. This is for sure getting in. It just supports that equipment archetype that Wizard's been doing so much. Relentless Raptors is a nice body, but that's it. Ooh, Sacred Fire too. Lightning Helix at home. This might make the list. Sky Knight Legionnaire is just a fine body, not love. It's Theoden. Human, Double Strike, that's pretty cool too. Okay, so Shadowfax is cool. Shadowfax is definitely cool, but it's a little pricey for Boros. Boros wants to be doing aggressive things. Legionnaire is just not strong enough. I think I'm going to pull the Raptor for the Veteran. So that was 3 cuts, which means I need 1 more. So Forge Master, Sacred Fire, Theoden, and Inspiring Veteran. That's just too good. Surprise Double Strike? That seems really strong, right? I think given all of this... I think we're going to cut the Veteran. We do have a lot of knights, but I would bet anything we have more humans. So we're going to, once again, filter. Oh yeah, way more humans. It's way more of a supported archetype throughout all of Magic's history. Even my own personal cube, which is much higher power than this, does support humans just because there's just so many incidentally. So that'll give us Boros. So that'll give us Boros. And let's finish up with Simic. You know, oop, that's another green 3. So let's put that to green. Which means we only have one cut. And I wish we had more. Honestly, I don't like any of these, but of them, Arwen is just useless. She was meant for Lord of the Rings Limited, the limited environment where blue-green was the scrying colors, but we are not going to have that density. So goodbye, Arwen. And we'll save those changes. What do you mean 31? What's still here? Orzhov. Oops. Breathless Knight. Remove. Save changes. Okay. So, back to the script. So that finishes up our gold section. A clean 30 cards added, bringing our running total to 95. Okay, on to the artifacts. And before we begin, I have to make 6 easy cuts. Alright, so that's going to be me removing all of these stupid Power Stone shards. It was a thought that I had in a moment of weakness. Talking to people in person and online, it's like, why would you ever want a 3-mana can't even give you a color rock? So boom, done. Cool, so now we're down to 42. The answer to life, universe, and everything. The Power Stone shards are out. I still think there could be an interesting cube built around them, but this isn't it. And while we're down here, oh shit. Whoops. The Power Stone shards are out. I still think there could be an interesting cube built around them, but this isn't it. And while we're down here, there are still too many 3-mana value rocks, so let's clean that up as well. And we got the Obelisk, which lets you destroy something for 1,000,000 mana. The Navigation Orb ramps you, which is not terrible. Manalith is just Manalith. Inherited Envelope is Manalith but better, so we'll cut that. Darksteel Ingot is pretty damn good, and so is Bonder's Ornament. So I think I'm going to pull the Obelisk too. It costs 7 mana to destroy something. I'd like to keep Orb as well. Navigation Orb, because it ramps you. And but 5 mana is a lot to ask for this effect, even if it is colorless. And then lastly, I'm going to nix Moonglove Extract. In the previous episode, I talked about Moonglove Extract versus, where is it? Scalding Cauldron. And how Moonglove Extract has a bigger down payment but lets you do it for free. But I've actually come the other way. I like having the artifact on board earlier. So we'll pull the Extract as well. With these 2s, I like all of them. I play most of these in my own cubes, not this. But the Heart Piercer sticks out as an odd man out. I am tempted to cut it, but we do also, at this point, have Renowned Weaponsmith. So a free search. It's never bad. It is a 2-card combo. Would I run Vial of Dragonfire? No, I wouldn't run that. That's a worse Cauldron. So it would just be getting, if we're keeping, where the hell did it go? So if we're going to keep Heart Piercer Bow. It's going to be the only artifact that the Renowned Weaponsmith can get. All right, we'll cut that. Which means the Weaponsmith is probably going to get cut too. Yeah. Cool. 2 more cuts. With these 1-drop artifacts, I think that we're perfect. I like having all of these abilities at 1. And I run Barrow Blade, Brainstone, Chromatic Star, Expedition Map, and Bone Splitter, not Vanquisher's Act, but Bone Splitter in my main cube. So we're going to keep those. They do everything we need at a very good rate. Same with this Gataxian Probe. This is one of the most powerful and broken cards in all of Magic. May as well let our cubers play with it. So now on to the creatures. I only see a few places that we can trim. You got this big fat top end. And the Meteor Golem I wasn't happy to add, so I'm happy to remove it. Ulamog's Crusher is just so much better. We did get the other Ulamog card. Path Razor? Path Sai? Something about Ulamog? I should just keep Scryfall open. Yeah, Path Razor. We did also open this, but I think at 11 mana, you were asking way too much of your drafters. 8 is a ton, but this gives you the big top end or potentially a cheat target. 11, you have to cheat this into play. There's no other way. You are not ramping to 11 in this cube. So, we'll keep that. Sojourner's Companion is okay, but considering each of our color combinations has an artifact land in it, it'll fix your mana. So, that's pretty good in that regard. Don't love it, but we'll keep it for now. And then we have a bunch of 2-mana walls. The Crashing Drawbridge, which anybody's going to want to run, so we're going to keep that. Gleaming Barrier only gives you a bonus if it dies. I think we're going to cut that. The Shire Scarecrow fixes your mana, so that's probably a keep. And then a Wall of Forgotten Pharaohs cares about deserts. Ooh. You know what? I am going to pull this Sliversmith, I think. I don't know. This is where it's tough. Because you got to make the hard decisions on what you can keep and what not. Because we're probably, once we finish this, we're probably done looking at these 3 sections. And we're only going to look at the colored cards. So. Would I rather have, or would the person playing this rather have that Wall of Forgotten Pharaohs or the Shire Scarecrow? I think I would rather have the Shire Scarecrow. But I also think with the desert support we have, it's nice to have this wall. So, maybe instead I pull the Sliversmith? Yeah, we're going to pull the Sliversmith. Even though it's a discard outlet for Madness. So what does that look like? 34. Crap. Because that's not going to be nice. Do I want to add one of those cards back in? Sure, we'll add the Sliversmith back in. And then we'll pretend I never cut it in the first place. Only you guys are going to know that. You guys live. Anywho. So. That fixes that. Bringing our total to 35 artifacts. Well, colorless spells. And 30 multicolored and 65. So that's 120 cards spoken for. Leaving us with 240 left. Now it's time to look at our creature sections. I'd like to keep about 30 creatures per color in this cube as a flexible guideline. We've got to keep the sections on curve as well. They should reflect what the decks in their color are trying to accomplish. First, I'd like to color code the auto includes, and I think I've already done that. Yeah, must have. Okay. These blue cards are the best in class at their color mana value. Cards that many cubes probably will run. So like, Llanowar Elves, Monastery Swiftspear, Viscera Seer, Delver of Secrets. So they're really Murmuring Mystic, like really good cards. So we're going to keep them, no matter what, probably. But let's dive into this Rainbow Madness and see what else we can cut. I am going to pull primarily from the cards that are not tagged, but who knows. So let's do this. And we're going to start with... Nope, filter. Cool. The 1 mana drops. So, let's take a look. And we're going to get... Sometimes I see people online ignoring the critical role that 1-drops can play, especially in a lower powered environment. Aggro is a pressure valve for the game, and if it's weak, then the environment can become very grindy, as people don't need to develop on the early turns. Starting with white, we've got 4 that have been tagged crucial for one reason or another. I think for now I'll keep another 4, cutting 3. So what do we have? The Tragic Poet rebuys enchantments. I don't know that that's important. I don't. I did have this grand thought about it when I started this project 2 months ago, but that's kind of inspired by one of my other cubes. So I think we're going to cut the Tragic Poet. Pious Wayfarer. It's not terrible, but it's not great. This could be an easy cut too. Leonin Vanguard. Sure. That's good. That's okay. That's great. Yeah, I think we'll start by cutting the Pious Wayfarer too. And one more. What are we thinking? Beloved Princess, which is lifelink plus, or Arcbound Mouser, which is lifelink plus, or Leonin Vanguard, which gives you life. You know what? No. Done. Great. Next, onto blue, where traditional cubes usually don't run too many. I think we'll keep 3 and toss the other 3. So Lord of Zombies, Delver of Secrets, and... Ooh. I don't think we're running ninjas, so this isn't as important. Yeah, we'll keep the Ruin Crab for now. I like annoying people. And Cobbled Lancer. Goodbye. Cool. Black I like to run as a tertiary aggressive color after white and red. Keeping something like, 5 would be good for this round of cuts. So we have to cut 4 cards. Keep. The 1 mana 2/2 keep. Alright, so now we have to talk about Nested Shambler, which gives you something when it dies, versus Haunt of the Dead Marshes, which can come back to life, versus, I think Banehound gets cut, just because it's not enough. Dread Malkin's pretty good. And so is Eye Collector. Okay, Nested Shambler is out. Need to cut 4 of these, huh? Even though Dread Malkin's ability costs way too much for an Aristocrat build, it turns a 1-drop into a pretty decent 3-drop. And it's got Menace. And it's got counters. The Eye Collector is just to be a pain in the ass. Another mill card. You're milling yourself, and you're also milling your opponent. You can use the cards in your graveyard, and they can't. Would I prefer that or my Haunt? I think of these 2, I'm going to leave in the Haunt of Dead Marshes because it kind of signals what the cube's going to want in the future. So even though Eye Collector is cool, Gonna pull that, and that means one more cut. We cut Banehound. We cut the Haunt. We cut the Shambler. So it's gonna be the Scorpion. Actually, we already have that ability, the Persistent Specimen. So maybe we keep the Eye Collector and we toss the Haunt. And then we'll toss the Scorpion too. That was one that I wanted to keep in my heart, but probably doesn't make any sense. Red, where the aggression matters the most. I'm going to keep all 8 at this point. You know what? No, I'm not going to keep all 8. I lied. I'm going to cut the Gorilla Shaman. This cube, it's much less valuable than if you were running a powered cube. Being able to knock out a ton of 0-mana artifacts for 1 mana does make sense. But in this spot, no. And then on green, we've got just way too many. First, we're going to mark these X spells as, I don't know, 10. Just so they go away. Because what we're doing is they can be cast on any spell, on any turn, and they're actually not 1-drops. So we're going to just get them out of here. We're looking at 13 left. So with that out of the way, I'm going to cut about half of these cards. Let's say I keep 7, so we're going to cut 6. So I'm going to keep 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which means I get to keep 1 more card. Toadstool Admirer, Quirion Ranger. Ranger is very powerful, but I don't know if it's powerful here. Would I rather have something that can carry things well? It's definitely not Scrapper. It's definitely not Gladecover Scout. It's definitely not Utopia Mycon. Or this. Or that. So it's going to be between these two. And it's really what you're looking for in the environment. And I think that while Toadstool Admirer is a very fine card and something you really want to equip or enchant, I like the flexibility that Quirion Ranger leads, especially as you start upgrading and creatures can do other cool stuff. So remove that as well. And then we're going to save these changes and see what we're looking at. Yep. Oh, way better. Okay, that's done. On to the 2s. Wow. Did I grab a ton? As I should. This is the most important mana cost in all of Cube. I think for every color, I'm looking to cut the list in half, as that's a good place to start too. So 22, we're going to go down to 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we get to keep 6. Whitemane Lion. The Johnny's Pride Mate. Grateful Apparition. Coreblade Master. Skyfisher. Alright. Keep those 2. Toss this. Toss the Arrestor. Toss the Infantry. And the Fairgrounds Patrol is gone. Flutterfox is gone. Seeker of the Way is gone. We're trying to get down to 11, and that is 16, so we still got to cut 5. One, 2. 3. Okay, so we have the life gain payoff, life gain enabler, life gain payoff. We've got 2 white main line effects. The Skyfisher's the better body, but white main lion, like, just lets you save something. Is that really important, though? Could be. Yeah, it gives the cube more play. How many warriors do we have? Not a whole lot. Okay. We'll pull those out then. So the Blade Master is a very good card. I like that it's what's the name of that Ravnica soldier? There's another card that does double strike. Just a good thing to build things onto. But I think we're going to pull the Blade Master. And one more cut. You know, funnily enough, I think it might be Knight of Grace. Now we'll pull the Serene Steward. Okay, that's done. Blue has 15. Let's get down to 8. Oh crap, I never even looked at these. Okay. 2-mana 2/2. If you gain 3 more left this turn, transform it. Cool. Alright, we'll pull this out. Cool. Alright, so blue has 16. Let's get that number down to 8. This is good. Why didn't I mark that? This is a defender. I don't think we're going to have enough clues to support this guy, so we'll pull him out. Wow. There's a lot of good stuff here. I'm going to pull that out. 2-mana 1/1 that taps for instants or sorceries. It's pretty damn decent too. That's just your prowess-ish threat. 3 2-drop walls, probably too many. I think I like that more than the merfolk, so we'll remove that. Bird Wizard? Bird Wizard. So we save that. We're getting this number down to 8. So 5 more cuts. 2 walls, prowess, artifact, artifact. Oh, sugar. Alright, so we're happy with that. I think we're going to pull the homunculus. It's a good idea, but it doesn't do enough. And the Vidalcan Infiltrator. Yeah, it's just unblockable. Sure, we'll pull that. Keep the Sage of Latnam, just a really cool idea. We don't need the red for Battling Mystic, because we've got both of these looter effects. Where are we at? 10. Let's go 2 more. 2 walls, 2 madness. I think for the last one, I'm looking at... Who are you? Well, welcome, Helio Reaper. Sorry I missed you when I missed you. I've been a little in the tank on this one. Good to see you. Okay, so anyway, I think with this, I'm going to be cutting one more, and then we're happy with what we've got, and we're going to go on to black. We're talking about this in rounds of cuts, so we're going to have to make more. I think in this round, that's a prowess creature. That's a prowess creature. I think we're going to pull the Picklock Prankster. It's got much better to do in a constructed environment than it is here. Cool. Done. So black, we've got 15. And I think we're going to bring that number down to 8. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oof. So we're going to keep the Callous Self Sword too. So I guess we're bringing that number down to 9. The Aeronauti is gone. Dusk Legion Zealot is just a value machine. Gixian Infiltrator. Malevolent Noble. Ooh, Sangrophage is good, though. What would I rather have? Do you want to keep the Noble? Or the Vermin Gorger? I think we're going to say we're going to get rid of the Noble. It costs mana. So we'll keep that. Sangrophage will keep. I think we're going to get rid of the Smitten Swordmaster. Even though it is a night payoff, I don't really want to be building those kind of decks in this environment. Let's pull one more creature out. Transform it. So it's a 2-mana 2/1 that if you discarded, you transform it. It becomes a... yeah, it's a payoff, but it's not a good one. Yeah, okay. Happy with that. Alright, on to red. We're going to look at, again, cutting this in half. So let's try to keep 8. That's gone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeesh. Prowess. Yeah, this is going to be a hard one to cut from. Thermal Alchemist. Wow. Alright, Battle-Scarred Goblin's out. Dwarven Forge Chanter is really good. It's a prowess creature that protects itself very well. Ember's Shieldbreaker. Erebor Flamesmith is your spell's payoff. Flametongue Yearling. Goblin Fire Leaper is a fine cut. So is Mogwar Marshal. Yeesh. Scrapwork Mutt is a good glue card. It's a pretty good glue card. Yeah, we'll get rid of the Rage Hound. How many prowess creatures do I have left? Just the 2, right? Yeah. This is when things get really difficult because you're starting to cut cards that you really want to have. And it's just tough because you got to make these tough decisions. Do I want the Thermal Alchemist or do I want the Flamesmith? I guess we're going to keep the Thermal Alchemist so it supports the walls. Good. Red's done for now. On to green. I think we're going to have this too, so we're going to want 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. Great. Plus, I want to keep Wilson, so we got to cut from some categories that we want to keep. So let's figure out what we're going to keep. Sir Farron is pretty cool. This wall. How many walls do we have? Bamboo Grove Archer, Wall of Roots, Thallid Shell Dweller. Yeah, we'll get rid of the fungus. +1/+1 thingies. Leaf Crown Dryad. Voyaging Satyr. Save changes. We do want to have some mana tappers in our 2s here, because that's kind of green's big thing. You ramp, and then you go. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull some other side things, like I did mark the Satyr Wayfinder as a must-have, and I think that that's probably not true, because we're not really having that many combos. But if I can find other things to throw away, then we'll keep it. Like Sir Farron is a knight, which is good, but it's in a color that doesn't really do with knights. So sure, we'll pull Sir Farron. And I guess Pollenbright Druid is just kind of fine, so we'll pull that too. Cool. We'll stop there for now. That was very difficult, but we're done. Alright, so on to the 3s. This is where I'd like something. I'd like to really start honing the list down. We want quite a few, but way less than we had for 2s. I think cutting down to 5 or so per color at this point is not unreasonable. I'm going to go backwards because these are easy to pick. Brandywine and Peregrine Took were the ones that I legitimately the only 2 that I had in the list at first. We've gotten rid of all the other Thallids. May as well get rid of this one. And we're cutting this down to 5, so just one more cut, I guess, is going to be Rift Sower. Hydrex Scout. Sure. Okay, 7 down to 5. So we'll get rid of the Suitor, because as cool as it is, it's not really doing much, and it has that whole thing of flip cards, which is just adding complexity we don't need to add. And Scophos Reaver is kind of on the chopping block, even though it's got Madness, because it's just a body. Yeah, it's just a body. We're going to remove that. All this other stuff does cool things. All right, Black. Bell of the Brawl. Deep Cavern Imp. Yep. Bell is probably going to be cut if I find other cool stuff. But the Blade Blesser is kind of out. Ooh. Yeah, Bell of the Brawl's out. That's 2. I need to pull 2 more. And value X is the number of modified creatures you control. That's a pretty cool idea. Vampire Aristocrat. Nah. Even though the name is from the thing, it's... I think I already pulled the Blade Blesser. Yeah. And then... save 1, 2, 3. Grima, 4. And then Unforgiving 1, 5, and we pull the Sky Marcher because it's just a body. Or do we keep the Sky Marcher? Yeah, we'll toss the Sky Marcher. Cool, done. Blue, down to 5. Windrider, Tome Seeker, Animating Fairy, Coral Barrier. Do I want anything more than Elrond? You know, I don't think so. Alright, so we're just going to cut everything that's not highlight here. This had a chance at one point. So actually, let me pull these out and see how many legendaries we ended up with. So filter, type legendary. Yeah, there's a few, but it's not overwhelming. So, we're going to say that as good as this could be, it's just not enough for now. Yeah, there's not even anything really you want to be untapping with it. So, we're going to go back to what we were doing in the 3s and pull Iarith of the Healing House. Alright. Now we're on to white, where there are a ton. We want to cut this down to like 5 or so, and there's already more than 5 highlights. So first, let's look at this. We'll look at everything that's not already highlighted, and we'll see if we want any of them. Tivadar is out. I did discuss this when I was first going over this list forever ago. It's just having the protection red and destroying a goblin just seems too good for the 3s. Celestial Unicorn, you're out. Would I rather have the Cavalier or Eowyn? Oh, Eowyn's very good. So pull the Cavalier. Pull the Horde Chief. Save those changes. What are we looking at now? 11. God, we still got to pull like 5 or 6 here. That's incredible. What do I love? I love Forerunner of the Legion because it's fairly unique and there are a lot of vampires. Filter. There's not a lot of vampires. I take that back. We're pulling it out. I liked the idea of Forerunner of the Legion. But there's not enough vampires anymore, so we're going to cut that. We've got 2 legendaries that care about equipping, which is good. East Farthing Farmer. Create a food. When you do, something gets bigger for the food you have. Sorry, Shivam. You're cut. Reanimate something small. Save something. We already have the White Mane Lion for that. 2. Draw a card or save something from the yard. I think I want to save something from the yard in white. And that leaves me with, what, 2 left to cut? Let's cut 1 more and call it good for now. You know, this wall, it doesn't do a whole lot. Just having the 1 instance of Exalted. So we're going to cut the wall. Cool. Alright. Now into the 4s. I'm going to cut... Sorry. Let's do this for the camera. Now onto the 4s, where I'm going to cut down to 2 or 3 of each color, because we really don't want to have a ton. So Faramir is great. Griffwing isn't. Monarch is gone. Absolutely. This is equipped. Transform it. Yeah, that's pretty cool. 1, 2. Do I want to keep the cavalry? Maybe. Lauren. What other legendary creatures? We already checked the legendary situation. We don't have a whole lot. Timely Horde Mate. It's a small reanimate, but it's just a little too late. Faramir is getting kept for sure. It's very good. I guess Lauren's going to get cut too. So now it's the missionaries versus the cavalry. Have the ability to throw something, but it does have flying. Or, yeah, we'll get rid of the transform too. Okay, so that's good. White's done. Blue. Let's say we want to keep 3 in blue, just because we did keep a lot fewer creatures of the lower mana costs. So blue is kind of where things get bigger. Keep the Murmuring Mystic. And the Hulking Metamorph. And Gandalf. Yeah, that sounds good. Get rid of the Air Amoeba. Get rid of the Filigree Attendant. Get rid of the Dreadmaw. And get rid of the Koi. Cool. Black has 4. Let's cut that down to 2. Kitchen Imp is great for when you do have Madness decks. It's super cheap, but it's ultimately just a body. Necromancer's Familiar. Just as a side note, I have a Modern Horizons Cubelet. Where this card is spectacular. So I have a very big affinity to it. Whisper is crazy good in constructed. At least Ash Lizzle makes it look good. But you know what? I think we're going to pull that. And then do we want to keep the Coven? Or do we want to keep the Kitchen Imp? I think we're going to keep the Imp. Alright, red. Let's go with 3 here as well. Twin Shot Sniper is a must-have. Sorry about that. Filming during the middle of the day. So Twin Shot Sniper is a must-have. Gimli is pretty damn good. And then Lord of Shadowskull Pass. Do I keep Gimli or the Crusher? Dwelp is out no matter what. So is the Hoarding Ogre. 4 mana 4/4 trample or 4 mana 4/3 trample that does some damage. Sure. Okay. Now green. Let's keep 4. Just because at this point green should be ramping, so it can have a few more. And I think that the Doomdan Rangers is okay. Yeah, Jiraga Visionary is just Jiraga Visionary. We're going to cut that. I want Timeless Witness for sure. I want Renata for sure. So those 2 are in. Maybe I do cut the Doomdan Rangers. Because I want to have Renata, Timeless Witness. Let's save those changes and look what I'm looking at. Renata, Timeless Witness are in. Urban Daggertooth I always want to be good, but it's really not. But I always want it to be good. So there we go. Penumbra Spider is fine. Imperiosaur is pretty damn good as a 4 mana 5/5. But you can't ramp into it. So we'll pull those. Alright, let's cut one more. And I think that one more is actually going to be the Doomdan Rangers. I just don't see green as needing the ring. It can use it, but I don't see it as being a necessary component. And then, now we're going to go on to... What the hell is it? For the 5+ cards, it's important to recognize the role these cards are playing. If you're paying full retail, they should probably be able to end the game if unanswered. However, they do have other modes, like cycling or the Hydra that we're going to probably keep. So we're going to only keep a few per color, aside from green that's going to keep some more. So let's say the number is 2 or 3. Sarah Angel, it's just a classic. And Angel of the Dawn. And we'll keep the Soul of Migration because it does have the ability to just make 2 birds at 4 mana and then possibly reanimate. Same thing with blue. Let's keep 2 or 3. See if there's any that we really want. Sorrowman. Shipwreck Dozer. And let's say Cryptic Serpent. So we're going to get rid of that. And the Whale. Specimens. Obria's Attendant. And Frostfist Strider. Black is already pretty low. Sengir Connoisseur is a house in Limited. Scourge Familiar. Alright, let's just get rid of this Twisted Abomination. Same thing here. We don't really need a whole lot. Wow. This is very, very good. I think the only one we'll cut is Oilifant. And then in green. Wow, we've got a ton to cut here. Cut that. Siege Worm is just a big body. Brontodon is a gigantic body. Annoyed Altasaur is a fine body, but it's just... I gotta make a lot of cuts here. Veriloth the Ancient, much better to build around. I like Herd Baloth because you throw counters on it and you just get a bunch of bodies. Eudora is a cute combo with Corian Dryad. So I kind of want to keep that, but I think it's just too niche to make it work in Cube. So let's save those changes. Pull those out. Come on, Cube Cobra. You can do it. There we go. Alright, we've still got like... we've still got like 7 or more 8 to cut. So, Ren's Run Hydra, I do like... Oh, excuse me. So maybe we'll keep that as our X spell. Palaka Worm is just classic. Beanstalk, Hamlet Glutton, Hooting Mandrills, Generous. Okay, we'll get rid of that. We'll get rid of Acidic Slime. And one more cut, and then we're probably going to say that that's done for now. Hooting Mandrills is out. Alright, save those changes. Okay, so that's going to get our list down to 441. Only about 80 more cuts to do. Whew. But we're getting there. So I'm going to stop streaming. I'm going to stop recording. We're going to bring this back tonight when area is a little quieter. Alright, everybody, thanks for hanging out. And I will be back on probably about 8 o'clock tonight. Alright. That's cool.